Shalom, shalom, Mishpaka. I pray everyone is doing well. We are going to dive back into this series, Psalms of Hope. Today we'll be reading Psalm 78, Elohiym 78. It's a long one, so let's dive in. Look forward to reading your comments, questions, feedback. Chime on in. All right, here we go. It says, "Give ear, O my people, to my Torah. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of Yahuah and his strength, and his wonderful works that he has done. For he established a testimony in Aqov, and appointed a Torah in Yashar'el, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in Yahuah, and not forget the works of all, but guard his commandments, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose ruach was not stedfast with all. The children of Ephrayim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They did not guard the covenant of Yahuah, and refused to walk in his Torah, and forgot his works and his wonders that he had showed them. Marvellous things did he in the sight of their fathers in the land of Mitsrayim, in the field of Tso'an. He divided the sea and caused them to pass through, and he made the waters to stand as a heap. In the daytime also he led them with a cloud, and all the night with a light of fire. He clave the rocks in the wilderness, and gave them drink as out of the great depths. He brought streams also out of the rock, and caused waters to run down like rivers. And they sinned yet more against him, by provoking all Elyon in the wilderness. And they tempted all in their heart, by asking meat for their lust. Yea, they spoke against Yahuah. They said, Can all furnish a table in the wilderness? Behold, he smote the rock, that the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Can he provide flesh for his people? Therefore Yahuah heard this, and was wroth. So a fire was kindled against Aqov, and anger also came up against Yashar'el, because they believed not in Yahuah, and trusted not in his salvation. Though he had commanded the clouds from above, and opened the doors of heaven, and had rained down manna upon them to eat, and had given them of the grain of heaven. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heavens, and by his power he brought in the south wind. He rained flesh also upon them as dust, and feathered fowls like as the sand of the sea. And he let it fall in the midst of their camp, round about their habitations. So they did eat, and were well filled, for he gave them their own desire. They were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of Yahuah came upon them, and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Yashar'el. For all this they sinned still, and believed not for his wondrous works. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity, and their years in trouble. When he slew them, then they sought him, and they returned and inquired early after all. And they remembered that Yahuah was their rock, and all Elyon their redeemer. Nevertheless they did flatter him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they steadfast in his covenant. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity, and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time turned he his anger away, and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passes away and comes not again. How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness, and grieve him in the desert? Yea, they turned back and tempted all, and limited the Holy One of Yashar'el. They remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy, how he had wrought his signs in Mitsrayim, and his wonders in the field of Tso'an. And he turned their rivers into blood, and their floods that they could not drink. He sent diverse sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence, and smote all the firstborn in Mitsrayim, the chief of their strength, and the tabernacles of Ham, but made his own people to go forth like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. And he led them on safely, so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. And he brought them to the border of his sanctuary, even to the mountain, which his right hand had purchased. He cast out the heathen also before them, and divided them an inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Yashar'el to dwell in their tents. Yet they tempted and provoked all young, and did not guard his testimonies, but turned back and dealt unfaithfully like their fathers. They returned aside like a deceitful bow, for they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. When Elyoah heard this, he was wroth, and greatly abhorred Yashar'el, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity, and his glory into the enemy's hand. He gave his people over also unto the sword, and was wroth with his inheritance. The fire consumed their young men, and their maidens were not given to marriage. Their priests fell by the sword, and the widows made no lamentation. Then Adonai awoke as one out of sleep, and like a mighty man that shouts by reason of wine, and he smote his enemies in the hinder parts. He put them to a perpetual reproach. Moreover, he refused the tabernacle of Joseph, and chose not the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Yehudah, the Mount Zion which he loved. And he built his sanctuary like high places, like the earth which he established forever. He chose Daud also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following the ewes great with young, he brought him to feed Yaakov his people, and Yashar'el his inheritance. So he fed them according to the integrity of his heart, and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Toda Rabbah Sabah Yahuah for the reading of your word. So in this Psalms, it takes us on a brief history lesson as to how so many times from Mitsrayim, our forefathers chose to put their hope in other things rather than walk in obedience and hope in Yahuah. And I am not one who likes to harp on all the things that they did wrong, because I believe it's a sign for us today. We do the same thing that our forefathers did. We hope in other things. We hope in other systems. We don't trust in Yahuah, who is our Elohiym. And this is a time for our people to really examine themselves as individuals and look within their heart and ask, am I lying to you? Do I say I trust him, but I really don't? Do I put my hope in other things? Because we often say, yes, Yahuah, we trust you, but our actions don't bear the fruit of trusting in him. We do so much talking, less praying to our source for hope. We have to trust that Yahuah is our provider. We have to trust that he is the one who's going to get us through every circumstance. But if we hope in him, our actions are going to back that up. We will not look to other people for hope. We will not look to other systems for hope. We will not look into our job to be, our sole provision, because we know whatever goes on in our job, Yahuah has the final say. We will seek him and ask him every day and every morning, Yahuah, what do you want me to do? Because my hope is in you. What path do you want me to take? Because my hope is in you. We're so conditioned to go on our own path, but quickly claim we hope in Yahuah. So that is what I have for you all, Mishpaka, that we trust Yahuah more, that we forsake the lying lips and examine our hearts and put our hearts, make sure our hearts are for Yahuah. Make sure our hearts are bearing the fruit by our actions, that we hope in him. So I love y'all, Mishpaka. Stay encouraged in this hour. Choose to truly hope in Yahuah in this hour. And if there be anything in your heart that you're like, yeah, this isn't right, I'm not trusting and hoping in Yahuah like I should, seek Yahuah. Go in your secret space, go in your prayer closet, and ask him to remove that from you. Because tell him how you want to trust him. Tell him how you want to hope in him. Because he is our source. And he gives us, nuggets in this chapter about Yahushua when he talked about how he's going to come in parables. The parables and the understanding of the parables is the children's bread. We should not be walking in utter confusion in this hour. We should be walking with a clear mind and a strong foundation. But the reason why so many people are walking in confusion, and there's so many confusion in Yashar'el, because they're doing way more talking and less seeking Yahuah's face. So let's hope in Yahuah and seek his face, seek his guidance, seek his ruach to overflow in us daily. Because through Abba Yahusha, we are to be overflowed with the ruach HaKodesh. That is his promise to his children. So I'm not going to go on a rampage, but I love y'all. I pray this Psalms of Hope allows you to just examine yourself, check your motives towards Yahuah, check your desires, check everything in your life, and make sure it's aligning with the will of Yahuah for your life. So I pray that you guys stay faithful. Pray that you guys are strengthened. Pray that you guys trust Yahuah all the more. Much shalom and ahavah.